Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Name the dog, Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, is my man who loves to wear anchors on his jackets, friend Frank. How are you today?
Feeling very nautical. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I am doing quite well. I am not feeling nautical, for I am afraid to swim in the ocean, Frank. Fun fact about me: love the ocean, not going in it.
Is that true? Do you not swim in the ocean?
Generally, not really. No,
Huh. I did not know that about you.
I have this fear. It's a real fear. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like the test is kind of like, imagine yourself in a giant lake, like a giant pond or lake all by yourself.
Okay.
Let's do this now. So close your eyes. Imagine yourself in a giant pond all by yourself, and your feet are just floating there, swimming back and forth, and you're not really doing much of anything. It's very calm, and you have no idea what's under you.
Oh, okay.
Are you okay with that, or do you have a little bit of dread inside of you right now?
I mean, I don't love that, but I don't feel like I have a specific fear of it. I feel like it's just like, well, wait, it's something behind me? What's behind me? Or underneath me? Whatever. That sounds bad. Like, it's just sort of like the general self-preservation thing, but
Sure.
I can't say that I've ever had that thought before of like being afraid of what's beneath me in a...
Okay, yeah, because that actually fills me with the heebie-jeebies. Like,
Okay.
I just can't. Ugh, I just can't. No. So I don't mind like wading or like walking in the water or something like that. But as soon as like I've got to the point where I can't stand anymore, forget it.
So
Yeah.
would you say that it is a fear of the unknown and or large objects underwater?
It is definitely a fear of the unknown. It doesn't necessarily have to be a large object. It could be a tiny object that could be very painful. It doesn't matter.
Okay. I'm looking for what the name of this fear is, just out of curiosity, and I found a list of phobias, swimming-related phobias. One is thalassophobia, is a fear of the sea, but yours sounds more specific than just the fear of the sea.
Right, because I love sitting by the water. I even love boats and being on the water and all that stuff. But if my feet aren't touching the ground, it starts to mess with me.
I don't know. I feel like this is like this fear of unknown objects underwater, unknown or large objects underwater, might be the closest, and that's megalohydrothalassophobia.
Yeah, see why I couldn't remember
megalohydrothalassophobia.
You see why I couldn't remember the name of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. Large object, hydro, water. Makes sense. Boom,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Latin, got it.
Latin. Boom.
Got
Done.
it. So, this fear stems from, I think, where a lot of fears stem from your childhood. And that childhood, as a young age, I was introduced to the movie Jaws, 1975, Steven Spielberg. And I'm pretty sure that's where this fear comes from. And I think a lot of people have a slight fear of the ocean because of Jaws.
Yeah.
But before we start talking about that and my feelings on Jaws and your feelings on Jaws,
I have a fear of not knowing what beer you're drinking.
Oh my goodness! Well, let me tell you, it's a themed beer, Frank.
All right,
are you ready for this? I'm drinking a Narragansett Town Beach.
Ah, very nice.
Yes,
very nice. I don't know that I've ever tried that one. I don't know if I've ever seen that one actually. What's
well,
the can
here
look
it
like?
is.
Let's see.
Here's the
Oh, maybe I
can.
have seen it. Oh, that's nice. That looks lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never actually. I've only had the regular Narragansett. I've never had any of their. I've never actually. That's not true. I've had their shandy.
Shandy, dill
the
shandy, yeah.
Yeah.
They have
But,
a whole bunch of They have a whole bunch of Oh, what's the guy's name? The Cthulhu guy. Oh, he's killing me right now.
I'm gonna let you see this
Lovecraft.
out.
Lovecraft.
Yeah, you did it. Yay. HP. I was gonna give you it's a printer. No.
Yeah. No, I was just blanking. Yeah, they have a whole bunch of Lovecraft themed beers from Narragansett.
Do they? Well,
Yeah.
he was from Providence, so that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah. The cans are all. It's interesting. You should look it up one day. It's interesting.
I will definitely look that up.
Yeah,
I'm
I'll put it in the
look
show
it up
notes.
and buy it. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, I mean, if you see them, buy them. They're good. They're very good. I saw.
Narragansett is
them
a
at beer
lovely
fest.
town. If everybody has a chance to get there, it is awesome.
Nice. I've never been. I'd love to.
It's very nice down there.
Would
This
love
beer
to.
is also pretty good.
Good.
Actually,
I am drinking another summer beer, one that I don't think I've done yet on the show. I've been saving it for a while. It's our favorite, tried and true, the Sam Adams Porch Rocker. Yeah.
Porch Rocker.
We were tweeting back and forth with our buddy Scott on a few weeks ago, and I think he had gotten himself finally some Porch Rocker. He finally found a 6-pack where he lives, and we were like, "Oh, good, enjoy it." And I had said how I had a 6-pack that I was waiting to drink for a long time and was waiting to drink it on the show, and this is the last one that I left specifically for this purpose so I could drink it on this podcast.
Yay.
And today's topic seems like the perfect one to break it out. So, cheers.
I agree. So I want to get back to. I want to get back to our topic as I drink my Day Pass IPA.
Yes.
We're going to talk about Jaws. I saw it at a very young age. When did you see it?
When I was like 16 or something.
Oh, a little
was a
bit
bit
later.
older.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw. Oh my God, I must have been 8 or 9. I think when I saw Jaws for the first time. My mom had this like time frame in which she wanted to introduce us to classic films.
Right.
Even though we might have been slightly too young to watch said classic films. Like, you're 9 years old. It's time for Psycho. You have to see a good film, So I might have been a little older than that, but not much. Maybe 10. And I remember watching Jaws at an early age, and I loved it then. So I'm going to preface this. Jaws is one of my favorite movies. Top 5 favorite movies, Jaws. And people are like, well, what about Star Wars? Because Star Wars is so many films and, blah, blah, blah. Discounting the trilogy. You discount your trilogies and your franchises and you this. When you're picking one, if Jaws is top 5 for me, easily. I watch it every year.
Every summer, especially come July when it starts to get really hot here in New England, I think of you and Jaws and how much you love that movie. And you always manage to see like you typically see a screening of it somewhere, right? Or do you always just watch it at home?
I try to see a screening of it if I can. I've seen it on the big screen. Once, twice, maybe twice. I've seen it on the big screen twice. And I was actually, I think it was this coming week or the past week, a place was showing it, but it was a midnight showing, and I am not about that life anymore. I can't do it.
Yeah, that's for young people.
I can't think about leaving my house at 10 o'clock at night to go somewhere, even though I could very well be up and I could watch it because I'm a night owl, especially during the summer. I can't. I cannot bring myself to go and sit in a place for 2 hours knowing I won't be home till 3 or 4 in the morning. Can't do it. So, anyway.
Yep.
So, Jaws, one of my favorite films. You like this film?
I do.
You do like this film?
I like it. I like it.
Okay.
You love it.
I love this film. And so I guess this is not a hit me with your best shot because you have already seen this film and you like this film, but I'm here to explain to you maybe why this film is excellent in a segment we like to call Everyone Knows It's a Good Movie Already. We probably don't have to sell it. All right.
Yep, that's what we call it.
Yeah. That's a really long segment name that I did not run by the marketing department.
Yeah, you really got to run that by marketing.
Yeah. So
Oh
anyway,
my God, run that by marketing.
so if I was to ask you what this movie is about, what would you tell me?
It's about a shark that attacks a small beach town, and it's really about the guys who go out to try and stop the shark, catch the shark, and put its reign of terror to an end.
Okay, that's good. I'll accept that. I'll accept that as a good synopsis of the movie, and I think you are right in both explanations. The main plot is about this shark is attacking people on Amnesty Island, and these guys kind of team up to stop it. But the film is really about the guys. Mostly it's about Roy Schneider, who plays Chief Brody. Hey, Chiefy, you gotta stop the shark, Chiefy. Anyway, so it's about him. But what I really like about this film, it's really, you could call it classic Steven Spielberg, I guess. Well, one, it definitely is because it's his second film, but certainly it's his, it's more than just the A plot, right? It's what else is this movie about? And so it's really about Brody, who is not from the island. He's not a native islander, and he's from New York, and he comes to be the chief of police on the island. And so the first kind of real conversation we have with him and his wife, Ellen, it's not about the shark or regular stuff. It's about being an islander. And so this whole movie is really about his quest to belong on the island. And so the shark kind of represents this, like, he doesn't think this way at all, but if he kills the shark, he becomes one of them almost, because it's basically an island of townies. And it's
very much so, yeah.
And it's up to the outsider, the other outsider, and then the islander to kind of team up and take this down. So, but the first conversation he has is like, oh, maybe I gotta try my Boston accent out, park the car down in the yacht harbor by the yard, and he's just figuring out the island and how things works. And he's a little pragmatic, it's like, oh, there's an attack, we should close down the beaches. And everyone's like, or the mayor's like, oh no, we can't close down the beaches because that's our entire economy.
Right.
So if you close down the beaches, we're all going to starve.
What are we going to do? It's in our name. It's Amity Island.
Island, right? There's
kind of what we do.
There's no going off the island, and so he's the audience, right? Because he's not an islander, and then you have your second character brought in, who Richard Dreyfuss plays Hooper, and he is the expert, right? So you have the non-expert, and you have the islander regular dude, non-islander regular dude. Now you have Hooper, played by Richard Dreyfuss, who is the technological face of the crew, right?
He's a marine biologist, right?
Yeah, in essence, of sorts. And he is independently wealthy, and he does this not for money, but because he likes it. And so he comes to help, basically, and to study and to know, and so on and so forth. And he's not interested in being an islander. He is there just for the shark. But his kind of personal journey is learning that the tech is not always what's going to save you, or it's not always going to get the job done. You can't just rely on the newest gizmo. You have to have some know-how in your brain yourself. And so he and Brody kind of team up. And then you have everyone's favorite Quint, played by Robert Shaw,
right?
Who was, by legend, quite difficult to work with on this film. He had quite a lot of stipulations in his contract. He was like, okay, so I'm not going to stay on Martha's Vineyard where you're filming. I'm going to stay on the Cape. And so every day you're going to come and get me with a car, and I'm going to take a plane over to Martha's Vineyard.
Wow.
And every day in that car, there's going to be a bottle of Jack for me. And
Oh my God.
And I'm going to consume that bottle of Jack Daniels on the way to go film at Martha's Vineyard. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, he was quite extraordinary. Also delivers one of probably the greatest monologue in his entire career when he talks about the USS Indianapolis. It's like riveting acting. He's so good. So anyway, but he is the Islander. He's the shark hunter, and he's total old school, right? And his is a battle against the shark. You know, he almost died from a shark attack when the Indianapolis was torpedoed and attacked during World War II. You can see a movie. I think there's a movie on Netflix with Nicolas Cage about the real Indianapolis, actually. Fun fact. So anyway, so he is the natural Islander who has no use for technology. So now you have this trio of, you have the non-Islander regular dude, you have the gruff sea captain, and then you have the nerdy technology guy. And together they form one coherent team.
Right.
But none of their plans work individually. So the movie is really about like cooperation and teamwork. And so like how are we going to get each of these plans to work, because they try each one individually and nothing works. And so finally it's only with Brody's gumption and some of the old equipment and some of the new equipment that he actually defeats the shark.
Right.
So it's great. And so if you map all of that out in a triangle, they all surround a shark fin, Frank. So it's like it was planned that way. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. So anyway, do you know any of the history of this movie? Do you know anything about?
I know it was a book.
Yes, it was a book. It was a book by Peter Benchley. Have you ever read it?
I have not.
Benchley. It is quite different from the movie. In the book, Hooper, Richard Dreyfuss, has an affair with Brody's wife.
Oh, wow.
Even though he's like been there for like 4 hours. And she's like, oh, I might as well have an affair with this man who loves sharks. Yeah. It's very odd and different. And so a lot of that I think justifiably was stripped away for the regular film. And so the film makes Brody more of like a family man, and Hooper's actually really likable, and Quint is likable in his own gruff kind of way.
I guess you could say they ran that by marketing.
Oh, I think they did. What they didn't run by marketing, Frank, is the sheer amount of time that it was going to take to make this movie.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I knew, was that it was taking a really long time because the shark, the mechanical version of the shark that Spielberg wanted was like too expensive, or they just couldn't get it working, right?
It wasn't working. So they made it and tested it, and it worked great, but nobody thought to test it in the water.
Which is the craziest thing, right?
Crazy. Or at least they didn't think to test it in salt water, which would make a big difference as opposed to a pool.
But like, it was 1974 when they were making this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that's right.
I don't know. Like, it stands to reason that you just need to test it in the conditions you're going to use it. That's just so nuts.
I know.
I guess that says a lot for how sort of primitive movie effects were still at the time.
Exactly. It's a great point. I mean, sometimes people just get ideas. So like when Steven Spielberg made Jurassic Park, they tested the T-Rex and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And it was only after the T-Rex was built and everything was he like, hey, let's make this sequence in the rain.
Okay.
And Stan Winston was like, we didn't plan for that. Like, that material's really absorbing.
Yeah.
Like, so they had to like pat down the T-Rex because it would like shudder and shiver.
Yeah.
Because the water was getting in the gears and stuff. So the Bruce, the name of the shark, which was named after one of the lawyers in charge of Jaws, kept breaking, and so the whole reason you get a lot of the shark's point of view is because that was the only way to shoot the film and keep it like vaguely on time.
And then you end up with one of the most iconic like devices in like all of classic film, right? Is not seeing the shark for so long and being afraid of it.
Right. Not seeing the shark makes it that not seeing the shark makes it scary because you have a fear of the unknown, going back to my fear. If you don't know where it is or what's around you, added to that with John Williams' score,
Right.
it actually delivers a scary performance as opposed to watching a B movie where like, oh man, that looks so fake. That's no good. Because when the shark does show up, it doesn't look super real, but the film was so good at that point, even by modern standards, that you can forgive the fact that it doesn't look great. Right?
Yeah. I mean, that is what makes it. It's that anticipation and that fear and that buildup that are so good. Like it really gets you. And so like, yeah, even when you see the mechanical shark and it might not look as great, like you let it go. You really do let it go. And it kind of should go the other way around, right? The anticipation should make you be expecting something awesome. And then if it's just okay, then you're like, oh, it's not great. But for whatever reason, it just totally works. And you buy into everything that these characters are experiencing, and it totally works.
Yeah, I think something that works really well is that even when you really do see it for the first time, when it kind of rises out of the water and the very famous line, I think we're going to need a bigger boat, all that, I think after that sequence is the barrel sequence, like the yellow barrel riding thing, and they did that sequence because you still couldn't see the shark. It wasn't working, and so that's where they came up with like, oh, well, if we tie barrels to him, then the barrels will be the shark and the audience will know where the shark is. And so even when you see the shark for the first time, we go back to a place of not seeing it. And so it's not like it's there in front of us all the time. It's really brilliant. And then with John Williams' score on top of it, it's that the original like ba-dum is meant to mirror your heartbeat. And do you know this, right?
I did know this, yes.
Yeah, okay. So I'll tell people who don't know this. Cover your ears since you already know it. Very, very good. He's actually covering his ears. Frank's such a good guy. But it means nothing because he's covering his headphones.
Talking?
Oh, my goodness. No, I'm not talking.
Are you?
This is your conscience.
I hope you're talking, because this is bad podcasting if you're not talking.
This is your conscience speaking.
Oh. We haven't talked in a while.
No, we haven't. So anyway, so the ba-dum is supposed to mirror your heartbeat, and so it starts slow at the beginning of the film, and then it progressively gets faster, as we know when the shark attacks. But as the film progresses, you don't get the slow rhythm anymore. It jumps straight to the ba-da, and so John Williams is kind of conditioning the audience to fear the shark without seeing it, and so your heartbeat jumps immediately when the music jumps. He Pavlov dogs the audience.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's really, really smart. And then with the rest of that, that's what everyone remembers. But the rest of the score is so good. People don't give it enough credit because he says a lot about, like, when everyone's getting off, when the 4th of July, people are getting off the ferry, and it's kind of this like Baroque music piece, and it's like, here's the upper class elite coming to the island, and he's saying a bit about, the state of the economy of the island and what it's like in the 70s, and then the high sea adventure music that takes place like right in the middle, because it's kind of horror movie for the first half, and then high seas pirate adventure for the second half, and there's a big tonal shift even in the film. It's not as scary in the second half because your trio has united, so there's like strength in unity, and so you shouldn't be as afraid, but then you let your guard down, and the music lets you do that because it's kind of exciting and peppy, but then people still can die, and the film reminds you of that. So
yes. Yeah. Huh,
so
smart.
It's totally good. Plus, it's always great to watch people like chilling on a beach when you are inside in air conditioning, and when you're watching a movie in the summer. You're like, I couldn't make it to the beach today, so I might as well watch this movie where other people are sitting on a beach.
May as well
make me feel like I'm there.
Fair.
Yeah.
You talked about how the marine biologist character, the Richard Dreyfuss character,
Hooper.
Hooper learns the lesson that science or technology can't solve it all. What are some of the themes or lessons of this movie in general as you see it?
There's certainly a man versus nature.
Mm-hmm.
There's certainly a man versus nature aspect to the film. There is I wouldn't necessarily call it a coming of age story, but I would certainly call it a need for inclusivity or something like that. Because all Brody really wants to do is kind of belong to the community. Like, that's kind of, he moved out there. He wants to. I mean, they treat him really well. He's not hated or anything. People like him, but he's not one of them. And there's a bit of a need for inclusion. There's definitely a theme of hubris going on, because the mayor has a bit of hubris about him, like, oh no, people are safe, it's okay, blah blah blah. And then kind of the hubris that Quint kind of brings in, this like, oh no, I can kill the shark for you, blah blah blah. And this guy, spoilers for Jaws, I'm sure you've all seen it, this guy who is the one that's like, I can kill the shark, no problem, is the one that dies out of that trio. He's like, and so the folly of man is your downfall.
Okay, so that's a theme right there, the folly of man.
Sure. I mean, anything could be a theme if you say it is, Frank. So
I think that running things by marketing is a theme.
Yeah, quite potentially. That's my Hooper laugh. It's pretty good. So you could argue there's a bit of Family Man theme kind of in there. There's a bit of Brody trying to be a father or how to reconcile work and parenting at the same time. There's not a lot of it, but there's a few Spielberg touches. That really cute scene where Brody's at the dinner table and his kid is kind of, I think it might be Michael, but I'm not positive about that. Could be Sean. It's either Michael or Sean. Doesn't I think it's and he's kind of
Sean. Oh wait, no, there's one of each, so I don't know.
Yeah, Michael's the older one.
Oh.
So I think it's the younger one. So he's kind of mirroring his dad's image, like Brody's put his hands on his cheek, then the kid does, and so on and so forth. And he's like, give me a kiss. Why? Because I want one. Or whatever the line is. It's very cute father-son stuff, which is in almost every single Spielberg movie that there ever is.
Yeah, that's true. That is a big thing for him.
Fathers and sons, a big thing for Spielberg.
Yeah.
So, what do you see any themes in here that I am not hitting upon?
Oh, I would not presume to go up against the professor. This is this is
a conversation, man.
What?
Like, that's
bigger boats. Just in general, I think that boats should be bigger, and I think that they really expound upon that really well.
Do you know the name of the boat? Do you know the name of Quint's boat?
Not big enough. The SS not big enough.
Nailed it. No, it is the Orca, because orcas hunt sharks. It's very clever. It's very good.
Smart.
They are natural enemies. It's very, very good. Fun fact, they did not film this movie in the summer. They had to film in March and April because that's before the big crowds get there. So all those people that go into the water, they're all doing that in March and April in New England. Like, people are barely going into the water now because it's just getting warm enough.
Right.
Can you imagine, like, just go, like, and then being like, yay, it's so much fun swimming in this water in April. Like, ooh, so cold.
I'll give you two themes.
Okay.
Anchors.
Anchors away, my boys.
Just anchors, because the what's his name? Captain wants has the anchors everywhere. But you mentioned the mayor. Is it the mayor? Yeah, I guess it's a mayor.
Yeah.
Okay. Of Amity Island, and not wanting to shut down the beach because that's their whole economy. That's kind of a critique of capitalism. It's kind of a criticism.
Ooh, very good.
Of just it's sort of a it points out the ridiculousness of, but we need to make money. So yeah, people might be in danger, but we need to make money.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's really good. His name's Larry, by the way, the mayor. And
Mayor Larry.
I mean, he has a last name. It's Vaughn Frank. Anyway,
Good for him.
There is a scene when at the third shark attack, when the guy like loses his leg and all that stuff, and Michael's in the pond, blah blah blah. When they do that nice Zolly shot, the very famous shot, camera zooms in as it dollies backwards to create kind of like that fisheye effect.
Yep.
After that scene, the mayor and Brody are talking in the hospital, and Brody's like, "I told you we got to close the beaches," and the mayor says, like, "My kids were on that beach too," and then he lights a cigarette because it's 1975, even though they're in a hospital,
right?
But I like that scene a lot because it takes all of that to get it in his head. His own people need to be at risk and almost die, otherwise it doesn't matter, and that fits right into your theme.
There you go.
Wow. Look at that, Frank. Look at that.
Look what we did.
We created a thing, Frank. We did. Now, I could talk about this film a little bit more. However, I think we should all just go watch it instead.
I agree.
Because it's so good. But just before we wrap up, there are 3 more Jaws films. The second one's actually pretty good. It's not bad. It doesn't have the same spirit of the first one, but it's not terrible. And the third and fourth movies are just awful. They're no good. No good at all. The only redeeming bit of the fourth film is Michael Caine is in it.
Okay.
And that's it. He plays the boyfriend because Roy Schneider had passed away at this point by the time the fourth film was made, and so his wife Ellen, played by Lorraine Gary, is the protagonist of the film, and Michael Caine plays her boyfriend.
I see.
Indeed. So, well, that's But anyway, you can find us on beerwithgeeks.com and Facebook and Gmail and Twitter. You can rate and review us on iTunes, and you can also check us out on all the places podcasts can be found, such as Satchel, Overcast, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify. You can check out Frank because he's hanging out in Atlanta in a few weeks if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, it's like 6 weeks away. We're going to be in Atlanta on September 1st. StarkExpoLive.eventbrite.com for all the details about how you can help us. Donate to generosity.org and come to our live podcast where we'll have folks like Brian Austin Green and Ian Ziering from 90210, as well as my buddy Derek Russell and friends like Steve Glosson, Graham Hancock, all kinds of fun people. They'll be there. I'll be there. We'll be podcasting live for charity. Check it out. Help us bring clean drinking water to those in need at starkexpolive.eventbrite.com.
Fantastic. Well, Frank, this was a delightful chat about the movie Jaws. I'm absolutely going to watch it sometime this week because now it's in my head. So,
all right.
I say to you, until next time,
cheers.